We begin tonight with word of a deal between the U.S. and Iran to begin winding down the war that's upended the global economy and pumped up gas prices. President Trump announcing the deal this evening, saying he's ending the U.S. naval blockade of the Strait of Hormuz and adding, quote, "Let the oil flow." The president has eagerly sought this agreement ahead of his travels to a summit in Europe this week and as a way to mark his 80th birthday today. Despite the president's announcement, Iran today still threatened retaliation for fresh Israeli strikes into Lebanon. More on that and the president's overseas travels in a moment. But first, CBS's Olivia Gazis leads us off tonight from the ellipse outside the White House, where the long-anticipated Ultimate Fighting Championship bout is set to take place. Olivia?
Good evening, Ed. The president is celebrating a milestone birthday today with a family dinner at the White House, followed by 7 cage fights and an apparent reopening of the Strait of Hormuz.
It's not a matter of if, it's a matter of when.
Administration officials insist an emerging deal with Iran will be delivered, even as the president today chastised Israel for imperiling it.
It is doubtful that any agreement that arises is going to be significantly different or a significant improvement from the deal that we had in the first place.
The agreement drawing fire from former President Obama, whose own nuclear deal with Iran was ripped up by Trump in 2018, a decision the defense secretary defended.
Obama, they begged Iran for a deal, and we bombed Iran and then put in a blockade and then ran ships through and then have restarted when necessary to ensure that they come to the table for a great deal.
The signing had been slated for today, the president's 80th birthday, as crews race to prepare for a massive UFC fight series on the South Lawn. Despite a risk, strong winds and rain could buffet the more than 4,000 guests expected inside the claw structure and soak the crowds of thousands more looking on from the ellipse. The unprecedented spectacle expected to make use of historic White House spaces through which fighters will make their entrances.
I guess entertainment's entertainment, but I don't know if those are the most important issues that our country needs to focus on right now.
The made-for-TV pageantry and partnership with UFC coming as the president's political support from its core audience, young men, has slipped.
I'm a huge MMA fan, so I'm just here for the sport. So, but it's his birthday when he's in the area, so great for him.
The UFC says it's picking up the $60 million price tag for tonight's festivities. And despite possible storms in the forecast, the White House says the events are going on, rain or shine. Ed?
Olivia Gazis outside the White House on the ellipse. Thank you. Today, the president also called out Israel for once again attacking what it says are Hezbollah targets in southern suburbs of Beirut, Lebanon. In separate interviews, he used the F word to convey frustrations with Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu for launching the strikes just as the U.S. is on the verge of its deal with Iran. CBS's Imtiaz Tyab is in Tel Aviv tonight with more. Imtiaz?
Ed, good evening to you. Well, this really could prove to be the most significant diplomatic breakthrough in the Middle East in years. The United States and Iran have agreed to end months of conflict, creating a pathway towards a broader agreement over Iran's nuclear program. Now, the deal calls for Iran to reopen the Strait of Hormuz, one of the world's most important energy and shipping routes, while the United States is expected to ease some economic pressure on Tehran and extend a ceasefire that has largely held since April. But despite the breakthrough, major questions remain. The agreement is only a framework, with negotiators now facing a 60-day window to tackle the far more difficult issues, including Iran's nuclear activities, sanctions relief, and the future of the Iran-backed groups across the region. And even as the deal was being finalized, Israeli strikes in Lebanon underscored just how fragile this moment remains. Tonight, though, both sides will no doubt be claiming a diplomatic victory. The real test will be whether this agreement can survive the mistrust and violence that have derailed previous attempts at peace. Ed.
And Imtiaz, do we know who exactly the United States is negotiating with on this agreement?
Well, notably, the U.S. isn't negotiating directly with Iran's new supreme leader, Mujtaba Khamenei, who hasn't been seen or heard from since being appointed. Now, the talks have been conducted through senior Iranian officials, with Pakistan and more recently Qatar helping to mediate. Ultimately, though, any agreement still requires Mujtaba's blessing. So while a memorandum may be signed, the real question is whether the Iranian leadership will remain committed once the harder negotiations begin. Ed.
Imtiaz Tyab in Tel Aviv. Thank you.